Yes. We can share. I promise you.
Let the minutes reflect those in attendance. We have Mr. Collins, Crockett, Kyle Glover, Tracy Strichick. I would like to call Mr. Collins to lead us in an invocation. Please remain standing for the pledge. Prattville High School, JROTC, will present the colors.
Let us pray. God, thank you for still bringing us here today. Thank you for our school system, our students, parents, teachers, administrators, just all of our stakeholders, and our wonderful community. God, just give us wisdom as we make decisions tonight in regards to our school system. Thank you for all your blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please, colors.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Colors. Right, face. Oh, march.
Board members, you have received the agenda for the meeting. May I get a motion to approve the agenda? A second? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand. All those opposed?
Thank you, Dr. Rich. As you know, April is the month of the military child, and we are honored to have our students be able to participate in our board meeting this month. As you just saw, our students did a great job with presenting the colors. If you don't mind, I know they exited stage right, but let's give them a big hand for this. As part of our celebration of the month of the military child, numerous activities are occurring throughout our district. Schools are recognizing our military families and students with several different activities. We are honored to have so many military families in our district, and we appreciate their contributions to all of our students in our communities. It's my honor to now welcome Mr. Emmett Cronin, fifth grader at Prattville Intermediate School. He is the son of Sean and Jessica Cronin, and he is going to share his military experience with us. So if you don't mind, come on up, tell us all about it. Thank you for coming tonight. Let's give him a big hand.
I am honored to represent military children in Prattville, Alabama to you, the Watauga County Board of Education, and happy to share with you the life of a military child through my eyes. The first obvious difference many military children in your district will have from their peers is the number of schools they have attended prior to arriving in the Watauga County school system. Personally, I have attended 3 3 school districts. I went to pre-K in Texas, 1st through 4th grade in Italy, and 5th grade here at Prattville Intermediate School. It's not just me, all of the military kids I meet are in the same boat and move around every 2+ years. It's been sad to see friends leave. My best friends were in Italy, were Carter and Noah. Noah now lives in Germany and Carter lives in Colorado. I look forward to seeing them again at some point. Next year, I will be attending 6th grade in Stillwater, Oklahoma. My mom, 2 younger siblings, and I will stay near family while the Army will be sending my dad to a few different locations as part of the Defense Senior Leader Training Program. This isn't the first time we have lived without my dad at home for several months at a time. My dad got temporarily stationed in Stuttgart, Germany for 8 months when I was in 2nd grade. It felt like a full year without him. All these moves don't just mean new schools, they mean starting over, finding our place in completely new communities, activities, churches, and doctors. For example, my little brother was born in Italy. At 6 days old, he had open heart surgery. At 7 months old, he underwent neurosurgery, and now at 2 years old, he is battling kidney stones. His doctors were in Italy, and now a whole new Alabama team has been taking over his care while we're here. The challenges that go with moving around a lot also have some unique advantages. I've had the opportunity to visit some crazy places in the past few years. I snowboarded in the Alps, visited the Colosseum in Rome, visited family in Ireland, and climbed the Eiffel Tower. I hope to see even more of the world, but I've already had amazing experience that some people only dream about. You can always count on military children in your school system to be independent, determined, and flexible. It takes a lot of character to adapt to so many new environments over short periods of time. Thank you for welcoming my family to Watauga County for the 2024 through 2025 school year. And thank you for allowing me to share my experience as a military child.
Well, first, families, thank you for the sacrifice that you do that you give our country. Emmett, I gotta say, you got me a little rattled how you handled that. You did a great job there. You know, families, I said this the other day at a function we had at the chamber, and I mean it with all the sincerity that I could possibly say. I cannot imagine the difficulty that you guys have every day, and I can't imagine what you just said there. I also can't imagine living in a country that did not have the freedoms that we have because of your sacrifice. And we appreciate what you guys are giving us, and thank you for choosing Watauga County Schools. So, Emmett, great job, sir, and parents, thank you so much for all that you guys do. We appreciate you from the bottom of our heart. As Emmett was talking about, the transition in schools can be difficult for our students. One of the great organizations that works with us to the transitions is our military liaisons. We're lucky to have one here tonight. She's gonna want to kill me for putting her on the spot. But Ms. Catherine Gamble, if you'll mind, stand up so we can recognize you. You want to share anything?
No, well, as school liaisons at Maxwell Air Force Base, we are just greatly appreciative of our school districts, our local communities, and everything else to help support our military children, especially since this is Month of the Military Child, and then our families that bring us our children. So, my children, same thing you did, running around school to school, doing all the new experiences. So, thank you for what you do, Emmett, and thank you for being resilient and everything else. And again, thank you, community. Yeah, but no, just thank you guys. I do appreciate it.
And we appreciate you. You do a great job with all the transition, and you keep me straight on all the military stuff. So I definitely appreciate you, and it's been great working with you guys. And I know Mr. Riker works with you as well. It's been really great working with y'all, and thank you for what you do with our students. At this time, I'd also like to recognize Dr. Rachel Searles. I saw her somewhere. Dr. Searles, she's with the Military Child Education Coalition. As many of you may recall, Dr. Searles retired from Talk County Schools. She was a vital part of the district's past success. She has significantly assisted the district in attaining Purple Star status for 9 of our schools, and she's a passionate advocate for our military families. Dr. Searles, thank you for all that you do. We appreciate you. And I'm gonna put you on the spot too, Doc. I know the script don't call for that, but you've earned it. We appreciate what you do. You want to say anything? Stand up, let us recognize.
First of all, thank you, and so, y'all know that I'm the crybaby. Look at Laura, she knows, I cry to drop my hat, so don't even let me see you cry, but Emma, you just summed it all up. You summed up why we do what we do with Military Child, and not just April, but all year round. And so, I used to work here, my office was right over there, and so when we started thinking about, hey, what can we do to like really celebrate you guys, we got on board with the Purple Star School Initiative, and so we made sure that our schools were Purple Star schools, so that we could do not only April, but also year round and say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so when I retired, I got to do anything I wanted to do, because that's what you do when you retire. You say, hey, I get to be my, what can I do? And what I chose to do out of all the jobs that I had here in the Talk County School, I chose to continue work with military children. And so I go around the whole United States talking to teachers, educators, and children about how important it is to celebrate you guys and to just lift you up, and to not only your family that is serving, you're serving right alongside your dad and everything that you do, and so are your siblings as well. So yay for Talk County. I saw all the Facebook posts. Your schools are killing it as far as like just showing all the things they're doing, purple and everywhere. So thank you guys for letting us be a part of that. And as always, Talk County Schools is still my home, and thank you for letting me be here tonight.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we need to recognize a student that's had some tremendous accomplishments. At this time, we would like to recognize Jamaica Williams. She was recently named Jamaica. If you want to, you come on up, Coach Lansdale.
Yeah.
Come up. Miss Day, I see you. It's up to you. Miss Day's don't want to get me after the meeting. But recently, Jamaica was named one of the 5 Alabama Public Television Young Heroes as a, quote, exceptional young woman whose life story is a testament to resilience, leadership, and a deep commitment to her community. She is just one of 5 students across the state that were honored because of her academic excellence, community service, and most importantly, her success in the face of extraordinary difficult situations and hardships. As a recipient of the award, Jamaica she received a $10,000 scholarship and a laptop and several other prizes. So the joke when I was at Margaret, I used to tell Jamaica all the time, and I just told her a minute ago, we're all going to work for her one day. She is fabulous. She does a great job with everything. Coach, I don't want to steal your thunder. You want to tell us a little about Jamaica? And Jamaica, I'm going to turn it over to you after that. So y'all on the spot.
All right, well, first of all, I want to say how proud I am, and we are at Marbury High School of Miracle. I had the honor of attending the awards dinner last week, where, as he said, she was one of 5 students in the entire state of Alabama to receive this award. I had the privilege of hearing her story and hearing what she's had to overcome, and her accomplishments stand for themselves. I mean, she's a great student, always smiling, and she cares about the community. She cares about Marbury High School, and that shows in everything she does. And I'm just so proud of her and proud that she was able to get this recognition and this scholarship.
Thank you. First I'd like to start off with thanking the Talk County school system for everything y'all done for me. If you don't know, I came to Marbury High School off of a hardship, and the board was the one who approved for me to go there, and if it wasn't for that approval, I would have never been standing here today. So a big thank you to you guys for all that you do for students. You never know what you're doing until you really see the person, act. Mr. Whitman was my principal before y'all stole him. Mr. Whitman, thank you for being so kind when you were at Marbury High School. Everything that you've done during the tornado and just everything you've done, it definitely lasts with me. To my administration, Coach Lansdale, Mr. Harrison formerly, and Coach Palmer, thank y'all for all that y'all do. And Miss Day, when I have one of my counselors here, and I always tell people I have 2 parents at the school. Miss Day keeps me straight, and then Miss Eastland is kind of the really nice one. I'm not saying she's mean.
We all agree.
I'm not saying she's mean, but I really just want to thank I really just want to thank the Ottawa County school system for recognizing me and pushing me. I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about what goes on in our school system, but I can say being a product of the Ottawa County school system is one of the most important things to me. We're a county like no other, and next year I'll be at Tuskegee in the fall, and I will definitely let everyone know where I'm from. So thank you, and go Bulldogs.
Alright, board members, the next few things are just some things on our agenda. Item number 3, since August of 2006, Child Nutrition has had a software contract with PCS Revenue Controls for the point of service in the cafeteria that runs back in the house management. CMP is currently transitioning to EMS and will be fully operational under this software beginning for the 25-26 school year. This software is paid for by the State of Alabama Child Nutrition Program, and at this time, there is no cost to our program. For the fiscal year 24, CMP expended approximately $11,000 for the annual software support. Presently, we will not be responsible for any costs, but in the future, CMP may have some costs with the annual subscription. Included in your packet is a breakdown of what the software has to offer. Item number 4 is the 25-26 Code of Conduct. You'll see that there are some changes. We didn't make a ton of changes, but there are some that we want to kind of point out to you now, pending approval, obviously, at the next board meeting. The first one deals with dress code. As you know, we've been looking at how to find a happy middle ground of, hey, we need our students to dress in a professional way to get them ready for life after school, but also sometimes it's hard to find clothes that fit kids and all of the things that we battle all throughout the year. So a couple of highlights here. Specifically with leggings, we are proposing to allow leggings as long as the top that the student wears covers the undergarments. We talked to principals and some community members about skirts has been an issue in terms of what we required before. It was 2 inches above the knee. We're proposing 3 inches. Shorts are still, we're going to require that to be mid-thigh. As a principal, honestly, I dealt with more dress code issues with boys wearing shorts than I did anything. So holding that line with shorts, especially with men nowadays, is paramount. So we left that verbiage alone as far as mid-thigh. We're also specifying a little on each type of clothing, just to remove any doubt on what we're looking for. You'll see language specific to each type of clothing, so that clear expectations and guidelines are provided to our students and families. These changes should help parents in terms of being able to buy clothes easier, but also help us with what we expect with students and how they dress. So again, we had a work session. We debated on how to handle some of this with the wording that I have in there at the moment. I think that's probably as good as we can be in terms of where we need to be with leggings and also holding to the standard that we need to hold. In terms of other areas of the Code of Conduct, we've seen very good results this year from when we overhauled and strengthened the Code of Conduct, especially in elementary education and bus transportation. The only adjustments made in these areas is to remove the 10 pending language and instead adjust the language to a 15-day placement. This better reflects the language needed in the student due process law that was passed before the start of the school year. Now, with that, we're going to adjust somewhat from that mode of discipline. You're still going to have infractions that result in a long-term placement. We all know that, but I do anticipate next year, if this is approved, you will have some behaviors in that C category that traditionally have been 10 pending, that will probably be a 15-day placement for first offense. Now, if we're going to do that and try to work with families and try to, because I understand, I mean, sometimes with our Code of Conduct, first offense, 45 days alternative school, we all have battled with that. But if we're going to move to that, I would respectfully request that the early transition program we put in at Second Chance this year, if we're going to start building in first offense as more 15 days, you're probably going to have to get away from an early transition with repeated offenses at Second Chance. So there's got to be a happy middle ground there. If we're moving that way, we'll probably see that early release program that we have this year at Second Chance being done away with. That being said, that program has worked well this year, but again, just like I said, I mean, if first offense right now for some things are, quite frankly, 10 pending, which usually results in a 45-day placement, if we're gonna work with families to try to remove that to a 15-day placement, we can't then turn right around and let somebody out for repeated Class C infractions for 15 or 20 days. We have to maintain that hard line. In terms of policy updates, policy 5.03, all we're clarifying here is what constitutes an absence in terms of percentage of the day missed. This has come up some with truancy, so we're just giving some hard, I believe it's 51% in your packet. Policy 6.19, promotion and retention, again, we're just trying to clarify language. The proposed changes are just to better align with all grade levels and to have clear and concise language on what we're looking for. Policy 519, this does reflect changes in the dress code policy, because again, if we're changing the code of conduct and changing some wording there, we have to propose changing the policy to reflect what we're gonna ask kids and faculty and staff to uphold. Policy 5.542, is dealing with immunizations. This policy just seeks to clarify requirements and to have, again, clear language. So I know that's a lot I just threw at you, and I'm gonna pause here. I got Mr. Barrington coming up next, but are there any questions with anything, on numbers 1 through 8?
As far as with the dress code, administrators feel confident as far as in their buildings, this.
Yes, so we went through a process of meeting multiple times with principals, getting their feedback, and the document you have reflects a consensus among the principals and us as a staff on where's that happy middle ground. The issues we've had with dress code, you know, the schools are doing what's within policy. You know, they're struggling with, there's a policy, I have to uphold the policy. This is an attempt to try to change some of the policy to meet in the middle ground a little more, but also allow schools to do what they have to do. So yes, the principals were all a part of this. Central office, we had numerous meetings with principals on it. They're well aware of the change. All right, Mr. Barrington, board members, as you know, Mr. Barrington's our special program director. He's responsible for all athletics in the county. He and I have looked at numerous changes athletically. As you know, booster clubs fall outside of our jurisdiction until they don't. We've been asked to look at some of our process and procedures from the audit process, and Mr. Barrington's done a really good job of getting with our ADs, and he's gonna propose a few things to you that you guys need to be aware of if we move forward on some changes with booster clubs. Mr. Barrington, go ahead.
Thank you. I realized after following those two young students that I need to work on my public speaking. Get very, very good. Since being hired last year, we've taken a look at some things in athletics. One of those areas is boosters and some of the things that we've been dealing with. I'll go over in just a minute and point out those notes. We've talked to some other schools and districts to find out what they're doing that's kind of helped their athletic programs and schools. Do they have a copy of the?
Just go.
Okay, I'll go through.
Yeah, I believe it's in the packet.
Okay, it's just a few articles that I'll briefly go through and then point out some of those notes, name, purpose, objectives. We've got those outlined already to some degree in our procedures. Here in Eclipse County, we just wanted to point out what the purpose, more so than anything, was to support our programs, the financial and organization side of it. Article 2, membership and fees, outline that and define that for the members and what their responsibilities are and how they can vote and participate with the booster club. The definition of the officers and what their duties are specifically. Notice of the meetings, when those meetings should take place. Right now, we've got meetings that are occurring throughout the year, and then part of the problem with that is they're electing new officers when they should be organizing for fundraising for different sports. And so there's a lot of confusion there. So we've outlined the fall, winter, and spring sports meetings, their annual meetings, how they should go about electing officers and filling vacancies. Right now, we're dealing with one booster that has 3 members vacated an officer, so it's just in limbo. There's no action being taken to support the program, and we should be making decisions to fundraise and that sort of side of it, obviously, that the club has to follow those policies that the board sets off in addition to the state, requirements. Those budgets, and those budgets need to come through the coaches, through the schools, so they have a clear understanding of what they're raising money for, and that's part of the issue, like I said, I'll get to those in a second. Expenditure approvals, that's providing some oversight to how much they're spending at certain times and who can spend it. Required agendas, going into these meetings, make sure they're recorded, obviously, and what's being recorded, there's a record. Signing off on property rights, we don't have any, boosters shouldn't have any rights to any property. And then any amendments that are proposed throughout the year that they need to adopt, and how those amendments are presented to the majority of the members. And then it goes on to how to dissolve that, dissolve those clubs. These are some of the notes that we, problems that we've come across up to this point. Clearly defining those roles, which we went over, establishing those clear responsibilities, following the budgets. Sometimes, right now, we've got boosters that are making purchasing decisions by themselves, without coach or school input. And then we have problems with some of the coaches coming in wanting to make purchases, and the boosters not supporting those purchases, or making purchases. We've got parents and boosters in the day-to-day operations in some of these programs, they're making coaching and program decisions, and they should not have any say in that, except through, maybe a coach's solicitation for those, remarks. Coaches should have complete autonomy in running those programs, making those decisions, and guiding the boosters. We have communication issues, this is probably one of the most important problems that we have. We have written bylaws in some of the boosters that state that all communications go through booster members before it gets to the coach. Well, here lies the biggest problem, we have FERPA and HIPAA problems with that. If you're not familiar with the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, these are federal laws, and, Health, Accountability Act, protecting students' health physically. So we've got instances where some of this is, we're not following those rules correctly. We don't have control over social media through some of these boosters, so they're putting out their information without our consent. We've kind of got a handle on that now that we're using Parent Square, pushing everything out through that, still trying to clean up some of that. We can't control some of the private parts of that social media. Part of this, the financial, section is, creating and establishing more oversight, requiring quarterly meetings, so that we can check the books. Each quarter, they've got to report, we've had issues here recently where, we've had some activity that, is not conducive to what we expect from our boosters. Finally, we've got boosters that don't follow the ACBOE purchasing agreements and contractual vendors that we use. They're going out on their own, just person, when we've got vendors in schools, and they're supporting the schools and getting back, and boosters are making those decisions to do whatever they want to. So those are some of the things that we want to do, through those bylaws, we hope that we can get a little more oversight to do.
Yeah, John, just one, so this is gonna be a set of bylaws that comes from us that will be for every school in our system
Yep, every school, every booster.
that has a booster club. Okay, very good. Does that also include, band and other auxiliaries, in addition to that?
I'm working on that now, that's a whole other realm of, I haven't gotten into, so. But the athletics.
So right now, we're talking athletics, and.
But the model is to do it for everybody, so everybody's on the same page, and that's the problem we have, we're all over the book. All the boosters on different pages of the book, doing different things, and it's hard to corral everybody to get them following, particularly just our policies and procedures through finance, but hopefully this will help guide that.
Thank you.
And board members, I will point out a couple more things there. Barrington didn't get too far into this side of it, but one thing as well, our our coaches, and they know, because we've had more training this year than what we've ever had before. Ms. Barrington's done a really good job of bringing our head coaches, our athletic directors. This is what we expect. We also have to change the culture with a lot of our coaches, and I'm gonna say this, and it's probably not gonna be popular, but it's fact. What we're paying our coaches right now, we should expect more. And the communication aspect of this, there's things that have occurred in this county for a long time that we're not gonna tolerate anymore. The coaches have to develop budgets. The coaches have to work with the booster clubs on the budget. The coaches have to present the budgets to the booster club to work in partnership with the booster club. What Mr. Barrington is uncovering is some of our coaches don't wanna deal with all that, but then they wanna go ask for money, and the boosters are like, hey, you didn't present a budget, we had some plans for this other money, it should be a partnership. Well, the problem is, and what has been uncovered through this whole process is, once we started diving into the athletic world, you had some boosters that do a really, really good job, they meet once a month, everything's there, and it's a well-oiled machine. And then you got others that's why we're here. So it's accountability, but I will say, we met with, I haven't made it to Proutley yet, that's coming up, but we did meet with all the Marbury boosters. And when we proposed these to them, the word that came out of their mouth was this: thank you. We need common guidance coming from the central office to help us operate, because again, they're volunteers. They're, you know, we shouldn't make the job of boosters harder than what it is when they're volunteering. So that's what we're trying to get out of. Mr. Barrington's done a great job diving in. When you're cleaning up stuff, sometimes there's bad days as you clean up stuff, but we're not gonna continue kicking a can down the street when we can fix some of the stuff. So, I appreciate what you guys have done with raising supplements. I appreciate what Mr. Barrington's done with the accountability. I feel very good where we're headed. Now, I do think as we start installing some of these rules, again, this is being requested by the audit that we're going through. This is an area that our district needs to do a better job of. Well, we were already on it before the audit. I do think there's gonna be some parents that get upset when we tell them, hey, you have to have it in your bylaws. I'm gonna give you an example. One of the biggest things we're dealing with right now is you have officers that have to authorize spending money for the club. Well, some booster clubs think that, well, you pay this booster club membership, but that's just, you're just there. No, the rules are, if they're a paid member, they have a right to vote on anything at that agenda, at that meeting. We're gonna require, we're not gonna tell them how much it has to be, but in the bylaws you have, it's gonna be, look, if you wanna authorize your officers to spend up to this amount for this many times a year, small amounts, then yes, we're gonna allow that, but it's gonna be on the framework of our bylaws. It's not gonna be just some arbitrary things going around, but you're gonna be able to do what you wanna do. You're gonna see some blowback on that. You're gonna have some parents call you, want to know, well, why do we have to do this? We've never had to do it. Well, that's why we're having to do it, is we gotta rein in some of this, because what Mr. Barrington's dealt with all year are booster club parents calling, going, hey, we didn't meet to authorize this spending. Well, when he starts digging into it, well, they didn't, but there's also no rules there that tells the booster club officers how much they can spend without it. So there's just all this internal stuff that we've uncovered that this document should fix. So I feel much better, great job on all of it, but I've been going this a long time because, and I appreciate y'all letting me hire somebody in, because this was what I dealt with all year last year, and, we're in much better shape now. We're gonna be in much better shape as we move forward. Any questions on any of that? Let's see. Trying to find where I was. All right, before the recommendation for approval of the consent agenda, again, just want to give you some information on each item as it relates to that particular item. Item number 3 is a list of field and athletic trips. Item number 4 contains a list of items that are no longer in working condition and need to be disposed. Item number 5 contains supplemental pay requests related to summer school and summer learning. Additionally, you will see contracts for 10-month employees. This allows us to fix an issue with how the district has traditionally used its 10-month employees. By adjusting this now, we will have more flexibility in the future. So basically what that does is we're gonna pay the 10-month employees who wanna work extra this summer. But next summer, the principal will have X amount of days that he or she can meet with their 10-month employees and scatter that help out over the summer. Right now, we're having a contract in addition to, and it's it's costing the district and the schools more money. Well, they're 10-month employees, there is some flexibility in that schedule, but to get it right, we're gonna have to do this contract, and then next summer, we'll be back on track. The word we keep hearing in our county and statewide is flexibility. This is another example of us giving that to the base schools. Item number 6, contains a flexibility agreement and an innovation plan for our students that attend AVA as it relates to physical education. The waiver in your packet will provide virtual learners with the flexibility and individualization they need to meet the physical education requirements as outlined by the ALSD. All right, so it's a virtual school. How do you handle PE? There's creative ways of doing this. I see Ms. Jerkins here, they toured a lot of different virtual schools. This is a component that other schools are using for PE, and so that's what the waiver is seeking, basically to fall in line with how others have handled this. Item number 7 contains a list of transportation department bus drivers and aides for the 2025 summer program. Item number 8 requests approval for the additional maintenance position. Right now, we've been doing a lot of research on this. I believe we have 8 maintenance workers for 8,600 kids in 15 campuses. I know I was talking to Chilton County the other day, I believe they have 12. We are severely understaffed in our maintenance department, and I gotta give our new maintenance supervisor a shout out. Mr. Roden has saved literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in that department by pinching every penny. If it comes across his desk, he is very particular on shopping for prices. By saving some of that money, we now have a little extra money in that department where we can start hiring help. We definitely need some help in that department. Item number 9 is something pending approval that I think is long overdue in this county. This is requesting approval for technology coordinators at each school to receive a stipend in accordance with our salary schedule. Little information on that. Just about every district around pays their technology coordinators a supplement because they do a lot of things after school. I know Mr. Allen, you'll remember our technology coordinator. On a lot of campuses, yes, it's your media specialist. It can be anybody on any campus, but the job description and the duties that they do far exceed what we are able to give them. So a stipend here, I hope, would help with retention and show that we see what they're doing. Item number 10 contains a list of residency proofs that the patient will now accept. You know, we went over this at the last board meeting, just trying to find a little more flexibility. Huge shout out to Mr. Conyers working through that process in his department. Item number 11, request approval for the J Street right-of-way transfer to the city of Prattville. The agreement provides a transfer of ownership and responsibility to the city of Prattville for the J Street extension. The Ottawa County Board of Education will no longer have the responsibility for the public roadway. Got to give the city of Prattville a huge shout out here as well. That process, there's been some hiccups along the way. Anytime you're dealing with construction, you're dealing with contractors, there's things that pop up, but really pleased with the partnership we have with the city of Prattville, and huge shout out to Mr. Camara. He was able to navigate a lot of things on that, Mr. Barrington as well, but just, again, real proud of what we've been able to do. That's one of those things that, you know, on paper, I don't know if it's possible sometimes, and you work through a bunch of hurdles, you get to the end, and now we've now given the city of Prattville access road to a major neighborhood. We use it, they use it, now they can accept the liability and upkeep of the road that we needed to build the school. So that's a good example of a partnership. Item number 12, I'm not very happy with this one, but it just is what it is. Bluebird, obviously that's who we buy our buses through. We received notice that there's now a government tariff that they are trying to put on the buses that we bought. Mr. Messick tried his best to get to not do this. We called the State Department. There is a clause in the contract that does allow for it. So item number 12 is seeking approval to pay the price difference on the tariff that has been placed on 11 buses that we purchased in September.
What is the tariff? It is coming from Canada or Mexico, or, I mean, what's the tariff?
Increase on parts for the manufacturer, increase on parts for the manufacturers of the buses after a certain date. 6 of the buses, 6 of the 11 are being manufactured after the tariff date, so those 6 are being charged the $2,500 on manufacturing.
And the clause in the contract is airtight.
When I say that we have turned over every rock trying to not, yes, again, Mr. Messick's been on the phone a couple hours trying to, this is something that's popping up statewide is what I understand. Item number 13 contains an agreement for temporary employment. Item number 14 contains supplemental coaching contract for current employees. Item number 15, request approval of the opening of credit cards for Career Tech Center, Billingsley School, Marbury High School, Prattville Junior High, Prattville High School. Basically, this is needed now because we have some vendors that do not accept checks. I mean, it's no different than, what we experience on a personal level. Central office, we have purchasing cards. That's basically what this is. It just gives the schools flexibility to work with vendors who now do not take checks or purchase orders.
Question, do the elementary schools not need, they don't need credit cards like Daniel Pratt?
That has not come up on this end. It's mainly, my understanding from Ms. Pose, it's mainly, extracurricular, athletic, vendors. But if it does pop up, then obviously we can do it. Item number 16, request approval for CMP to operate under the summer food service program for summer people. Are there any questions with the consent agenda as presented? All right, I recommend approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. May I get a motion to approve? Make a motion to approve. A second?
Second.
Any discussions? Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign.
All right, I recommend approval of the personnel report as presented.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. May I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed?
All right, at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Atchison to come forward and provide us with the March bank and financial statements and budget amendment information. Ms. Poe could not be here tonight. Ms. Atchison is going to fill in and, do a great job.
This is different. You guys received the financials last week, so this is just a quick summary of everything. We are at our halfway point, so that means we're about to dive into the next year budget. But everything in our budget should be around 50% right now, so you'll see in your snapshot analysis, our total revenues for the month of March are at 59%, or 51.6 million of the total budget. The district's expenditures are at 47%, or 44.4 million, of the total budget. Our fund balance ended at 57.8 million for March. The payroll for the month of March totaled at 6.8 million. And if you look at your local revenue analysis sheet, you're gonna see that year-to-date local revenues collected at 15.7 million, which is 73% of the budget. March's collections were right around 1 million. As a reminder, of the 21 million that we budget in local revenues, 10.2 of those are allocated to meet the state required, foundation program, the public school funds, and capital bonded. Any questions? Hold on till next board meeting, you can Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Do you want to vote on that?
Yes, I got you. So at this time, I recommend approval of the March bank and financial statements as presented.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation. May I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed?
Good. All right, so like we said, we're heading into budget season now. I find it odd, Ms. Henderson brought back the first aid kit this morning. I thought, why is she bringing that back? Now I know why. She knows. So, it knows what goes on back there during that time. So, just to kind of start off with this, our budget amendment, of course, when we budget, we're budgeting in August. So, there are some unknown factors. So this is the time of year we bring these amendments to you guys. General fund had an increase of 1.187 million. That is due in part to foundation, increased by $96,000. Some of that toward AVA, some toward speech teacher stipends. We've received 7 other state grants. Those are related to Literacy and Numeracy Act. Those are around $367,000. We have, high needs and interpreting sped grants that we've received, college and career readiness. We've adjusted for ARI, local grants, things that happened, that came in for the schools. There's a new licensed language therapist stipend also. Those are kind of the highlights for general fund. Our special revenue, we are increasing that by 1 million. That's basically, there's carryover funds that we have, and like I said, we can't prepare for those in August to have you guys approve in September. So the carryover from those, Title I, there was 178,000, Title II, 301,000, and, Title III had 1,700, Title IV, 9,000, and IDEA, 4,100. Teacher mentor funds also, and CNP and local school funds, from that. Title I actually received an increase in funding of 76,000. Debt service, we did have to decrease by 197,000, and capital projects, we had an increase of 1.9. So that's basically your, highlights, your highlight reel from budget amendments. So we are bringing that to you guys to approve tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Ashton. This time, I recommend approval of the budget amendment as presented.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. May I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign.
All right, board members, as far as superintendent report, just 2 things. I want to give a quick update with the Toggle student transition plan. Letters were mailed out Friday to all our students with the new school for the 25-26 school year. We put in the letter everything they needed to know. We've got Ms. Thomas as the point of communication in terms of any questions about zoning and things of that nature. Parent square groups went live today at 5:30. The way we're managing that, when schools are getting ready to communicate with the families of a Toggle, the principals are sending that communication to Ms. Thomas. Ms. Thomas is managing those groups to make sure that all schools are communicating the way that we need to communicate. As we finish the school year, obviously the students that are in those groups will migrate to the overall parent square group. The reason we're doing it that way is we don't want our Toggle families getting bombarded with messages from the Toggle school, and then also, for example, if a kid is zoned to go to private primary, then also getting all the messages from private primary that they may put out. So doing it this way will allow, if private primary wants to send a targeted message to the Otago families that are zoned for private primary, it will funnel through Ms. Thomas, and she'll be able to track that communication. Also got approval with the HSA. I have it in writing from the HSA about tryouts and being eligible and things of that nature, so we have all that. Mr. Barrington emailed that letter today to the principals and athletic directors. They're having a meeting tomorrow, a Zoom, where they're gonna get the dates for tryouts and things of that nature. And again, that's part of the targeted information. Once Mr. Barrington gets that information, we're gonna send it to Ms. Thomas, who will then specifically send it to those schools. Mr. Ziegler and Dr. Marsh are gonna have a meeting tomorrow. We're gonna create a Google document where where Mr. Ziegler's gonna have days set aside where Prattville High School, Prattville Junior High, Billingsley School can come to campus, meet with the kids that are scheduled to go to those schools next year, start working on schedules, meet with the kids individually. We also have open house events planned, so we're moving forward with that transition plan. We were just waiting on that final hurdle with the HSA. They've been great to work with on it. Now that we have that clearance, we're gonna move full speed with our transition plan. The only other thing in terms of just updating you on process, my goal, obviously, giving you code of conduct and other items tonight. If we can get that process approved at the next board meeting or in May, I can tell you, somebody who's been in the district for a long time, we will be significantly ahead of where we've been in the past in terms of getting principals what they need to start planning for the summer. So, obviously tonight, received this information, we'll discuss should help us target our, professional development much clearer than what we've done in the past. So we're trying to get out of everybody's way at central office. We're gonna give them what they need, let them do what they gotta do in the summer, so we can target things a little better. That's about all I got, Superintendent's report. Any questions there? All right, board members, as you know, when I was hired, we came in and we started reviewing, all properties and appraisals and things of that nature from the schools. Again, Mr. Merritt done a great job, developing all that into a massive binder that we have. Part of this, process, I've been contacted by a few people wanting to possibly look at, purchasing some of our property. That's what I'm bringing to you tonight. I have received some offers on some, properties. I would like to go into executive, session to discuss any potential sale and just what that process may look like. Obviously, no decision will be made in executive session, but just to have that discussion.
Board members, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation to enter into executive session. May I get a motion to approve? Make a motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Please let the minutes reflect that we will not be taking votes during executive session. And it will last approximately